Yeah, we spent a lot of time really looking for the right people to come this year, and I think we've actually, I think we've got a really amazing group of people here. We're very fortunate to have someone from the UK, a sort of entrepreneur, British Entrepreneur of the Year, Michelle Moan, who sort of formed the one of the sort of Britain's most sort of elaborate lingerie brands, Ultimo. So she's coming out for a couple of days. As I say, she appears on TV very often in the UK, talks about her story. I think it's going to be great for us, for sort of people in the universities, to learn about her story, about being an entrepreneur. And obviously, I think she's also looking for more sourcing out of Sri Lanka. So I think it's going to help on two aspects. As I say, I've got my list of other people who are here. We've got Jonas Ida Hansen, who is the Sustainable Director at the Danish Fashion Institute. I was fortunate enough to attend the summit in Copenhagen in May, where he arranged for 2,000 people to sit in one room with Crown Princess Mary talking about sustainable fashion. I mentioned earlier how sustainable fashion, I think, is really taking off again. Sri Lanka's really doing its part. I know certain companies have green factories here, and I think that plays an important aspect. I always feel that the factories sometimes are not sort of recognized as much as they should be, and I think it's great that he's here to understand what we're actually doing. So we're really, really happy to have him here and to share his knowledge. We've got guys from supply chain. Stephen Forte, who's a sort of global sales director for Coats. Coats are a large thread company. They have a presence in Sri Lanka and in 84 other countries. So his knowledge of the supply chain is phenomenal, and he's going to be here to share his knowledge. Technology is playing a very important aspect in our business today. It's all about speed to market. And Kurt Cavano from Trade Card, he was here last year, gave a phenomenal talk last year. He's also here again this year to share his knowledge. David Birnbaum, great experience. I remember him from when I joined the business 15 years ago. He really sort of predicted where the industry was going to go, where the supply chain, where all the design development was going to move from retailers in the West to factories, and it's happening. It's reality. It's happening. Who else do we have? Obviously, we've actually undertaken an organisation in the UK, the Future Laboratory, to do a specific report for us on the consumer of the future. None of us know what the report's going to be like. We're really, really excited. So if you attend the event on Saturday, we're all going to be put out of the dark and understand what the report's all about. It's going to be very exciting.
That's in fact a very interesting question, Mevan. Who is going to be the future consumer? Now, we had the traditional markets, if you can say so, the US and the EU. For Sri Lanka, we were supplying our apparels to those countries. Now, Mike, in your opinion, has those markets changed, and has even the manufacturing market, for example, China used to be a leader. Now maybe it is not the case. Are these markets changing?
Well, there is a shift in production throughout the world, and Nikhil mentioned Coats, the thread company. They sell thread. It's just thread. However, because they sell thread, they know if there's a shift in production from one country to another or one region to another. They're in effect the industry's early warning system. So the value of just thread, when added with labels and with pocketing and with elastic and with all the other elements of making apparel, really give you an indication of where there are shifts, thus the value of having the supply chain and the forum. In terms of consumer shifts, one thing we're going to really discuss, and one thing that Sri Lanka is pioneering, is the concept of body scanning, so that once my body becomes a file of data, I can match my size to the various jeans and shirts in a store, and over time I learn what fits, and over time I know if it's in the store before I even go to shop for it, which raises the issue of why do you even need a store? And so Amazon and other direct shipping companies are really coming on very strong in the retail market space.
I just want to touch on one thing. I talked about all the international personalities coming in, but don't forget Sri Lanka has its own sort of industry. Giants. It's been very successful, and its own giants. And we have Mahesh Amalin, Ashraf Omar, having a sort of one-on-one discussion at the event on Saturday, sharing their knowledge, their history, both very successful companies. So the combination of these international delegates and personalities with the local is going to be phenomenal.
And also, Nikhil, going on that note, just taking Sri Lanka and the global industry as a whole. Now, we mentioned how we because of the shift in dynamics. Just like to mention that.
Yeah, I think we've seen sort of, China's always been a sort of major hub for apparel production, but in recent years, China, obviously, there has been inflation in China, and there has been a bit of a shift, I think, to our region. And Sri Lanka has played a major part. Geographically, where Sri Lanka is as well, where we are geographically, we touched upon the new markets. I mean, India and China is of over 1 billion people. So there's a future here for this country.
There's an interesting question, Nikhil, I want to put to you. Now, Sri Lanka has mainly manufactured products designed by other countries. It comes over here, it's manufactured and sent back to those countries. Is there a future in Sri Lanka where maybe these manufactured products will be retailed in Sri Lanka as well? Is that possible? Is that market there?
Population's pretty small, but I think that we've obviously got tourism now taking off in this country, and I feel that the potential for branded retail to take part here can forge forward. It's going to take time. As I say, retailers are always looking at big populations, and we don't have that at the moment here, but it's not to say that it can't happen in the future, especially with the tourism coming in.
Talking about moving forward from the manufacturing to the retailing, and that's exactly what the Leadership Forum attempts to do, to bridge this gap, as you said, Mike, earlier on, that people might not really meet each other. People in the manufacturing and the supply chain might not really meet the retailers. Now, how will this project or this concept work in Sri Lanka, in the Sri Lankan context, according to your opinion?
Well, one of the projects that we're working on back in the Americas is we've decided, and Nikhil was in this meeting that we had earlier this year, we decided to write a report card. We talk about the difference between sourcing in the Americas versus Asia. We could just as easily talk about the difference between Turkey and Sri Lanka, or between South Asia and Southeast Asia. The issue is, what are the questions that you ask, and who should answer them? So we created a set of 36 questions and sent it to the most senior sourcing executives on the retail and brand side in the U.S., thinking we might get a 10 or 20% response. We got a 100% response. And just this morning, in preparation for this opportunity, I had a chance to look at the PowerPoint presentation with the scores and the comments. You can't control what you can't measure. And I think that this report card, once we understand what it means, will translate and transfer right over into Sri Lanka, so that you can use it to measure to look in the mirror and to see how you're doing competitively with other parts of the world.
Yeah, and also, Harit, something that we see in any industry is, as much as it benefits the industry as a whole from foreign retailers coming in, from foreign experience coming in, Sri Lanka has quite a lot of potential in designing as well. So how would that benefit? And also, do you see any drawbacks of it, Nikhil, if you'd just like to mention? Would it replace some of the opportunities that are available for Sri Lankan designers if the foreign retailers coordinate directly with the manufacturers?
No, I think they can work in combo. Realistically, I think, as I say, you mentioned Sri Lanka has huge talent in design. I've, as I say, seen it in recent years, in the last 7-8 years. The talent has really become more commercial, and I think there's opportunity, obviously, for designers here to actually sell their stuff abroad, and we're seeing that already now. So I think there is definitely a combo where both can work in tandem.
You are pioneering that in Sri Lanka. You do have factories that have created their own brand specifically sized for the South Asian market, and not in response to a retailer, but just on their own. And this is an indication, as Nikhil said about David Birnbaum's forecast years ago, there's been a shift in power from the retailers and brands to the factories, and you're seeing it better illustrated in its success here in Sri Lanka than any other part of the world that I know of.
Okay. And retailers will buy brands from local designers.
Yes, true enough. We're just going to head on to a quick break, but we'll be back and let's continue our chat with these two gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Keep watching Good Morning Sri Lanka.